Hello there, dear listener. We have just finished releasing all of the cult adventure Clavis Inferna over on our Patreon. By going there and backing us on the $5 level, you can binge all 6 episodes of this story that thus far has only been available in Spanish, but thanks to our friend Anton Gonzalez, has been translated for us so that we can play it and share it with all of you. Also, we're nominated for an ENnie award, and the voting is open until July 12th. If you haven't voted for us yet, please follow the link in the show notes or search for the ENnie Awards, ENnie. These are the biggest awards in the RPG industry, and doing well there will help us to reach more people, and will help spread Cult's darkness across the world. Thank you, and enjoy this first episode of Clavis Inferna. It's Sunday, the 17th of February, 1991, 5 p.m. It's one of those rainy days where everything seems to be moving in slow motion. The two cities have become one, but reunification is, shall we say, a work in progress still here in Berlin. You've just arrived at Tempelhof Airport, called back urgently from your current posting at the Interpol headquarters in Lyon, France. The Berlin Homicide Division has seen a sharp uptick in workload recently, probably connected to the reunification and the free flow of people across the old border. But something feels different. There's change in the air. And in spite of this supposedly being the end of history, you have a feeling something else is beginning. The old order is collapsing, and the pillars that have kept the whole charade up are beginning to crumble. This breeds fear, desperation, and violence. So, it's all hands on deck for what looks to be a case with some possible diplomatic fallout. You still need to get a full brief, but you know that Grégoire Matelotte, the director of archaeology at the Louvre in Paris, died under mysterious circumstances. An explosion, seemingly, at the Pergamon Museum in Berlin on February 14th. Valentine's Day, of all days. This has been big news, both in France and in Germany. The guards found the eviscerated Matelotte and the director of the museum, Dr. Müller, who was catatonic and severely shocked at the scene. So, you know this, and you are just getting out of the gates from your flight from France. Can you describe yourselves? Who are you, Tadia Kirsch?
I am a 44-year-old female Interpol investigator. I'm tall, square shoulders, blonde hair, cut short, rectangular glasses. Working mostly with the crime scene investigation, but also I've had some recent cases in Lyon and courses in weapon trafficking. I studied physiotherapy, went on to crime scene investigation, and joined Interpol for some more hands-on skills to get some action and maybe do something good for the world. I have a husband, Arjen. He's Dutch. We live in the suburbs of Berlin. I tend to work mostly in Lyon, though, so I've been spent a lot of time away. And now that my daughter has moved to my parents in Finland, there's not much keeping me here, other than a sort of failing marriage. So I try to keep myself busy with work. And it's unfortunate that this work is now taking me back to somewhere I'd rather have an excuse not to be, I feel.
Indeed. But brought you back it has, and then you're again in Berlin. And you're not alone. Another agent from Interpol is with you. Victor Schmidt. Who are you?
I am an older gentleman, late 40s, though I look a bit older, got quite a weathered face, short dark hair, square jaw, slightly hunched, as I wear a big coat over my shirt and jeans. I am a long-serving homicide investigator, originally from Berlin, recruited then with Interpol, done a bit of world travel. Coming home, my specialty is crime scene investigation, homicide, little bit of vice on the side. I am quite dedicated to the job, especially in the last 10 or so years since my wife passed. Pretty much just do as I'm told, work the cases, gives me some purpose, I guess. And yes, been a while since I've been home, but I guess I'm now home in Berlin.
You are, and you're both very, very good at your jobs. That is why you are here, why you have been called here. Shit, this is a bit unexpected. I mean, certainly the Berlin police authorities wanted you back badly, but you didn't expect the deputy chief of police, Schinkel, to be awaiting for you at the airport. He's standing right over there. The man is a living legend, and while you haven't worked directly with him, you definitely know him by reputation. This is possibly bigger than you thought. He's a big man, a strong build, wearing woolen trousers, a grey pullover and a raincoat, in his 60s. Word in the Corps was that he was top brass at Stasi, who pulled all the strings he had accumulated, all at once, to somehow salvage his career as the wall came down. He's standing over there, though. He doesn't seem to have noticed you yet. So there's just the two of you there now, in front of the gates. What do?
I look around. I don't feel that I'm particularly eager to be here again. But it's nice to be here with Victor, at least. Him I've seen around and been working with a fair bit before. Maybe not like so much side to side or getting to know him personally, but we definitely know of each other. And I look over and I see Schinkel standing there. And then I nudge Victor. Look there, I think we have a welcome committee waiting for us.
Seems it.
Do you know who it is?
Yeah. That would be the Deputy Police Commissioner Schinkel, I think. Yeah, pretty big news. Interesting. Maybe this case is higher up the food chain than we were told.
Well, they must have some reason for calling Interpol to solve it. Anyways, yeah, I didn't expect to see him straight here at the airport.
Good to see you, Taria. It's been a while.
It has. How have things been for you?
Same old, same old.
You meet anyone?
No. And I kind of smile in a weird way and turn my head and start walking towards Schinkel.
I take my bag and I start rolling it after him.
You come closer to Schinkel, who notices you and nods, gives you a very laconic hello, and starts pointing you towards the exit of the airport. Kirchner is waiting in the car. He says, "What the hell? Kirchner? That's the chief of police. Leo Kirchner. Wow. Alright." Schinkel leads you out of the airport.
I nod, begin to follow. I make a remark in passing. Awfully kind of you to meet us at the airport.
This is a pretty big deal. It's important that we solve it quickly. Kirchner's going to tell you all about it. You're the best at what you do, is what they say.
Of course. And you yourself are quite resourceful, I've come to understand. It's an honor to meet you.
He just nods. As you are moving out of the airport, out of Tempelhof, you see a huge monument outside. It's a claw with 3 talons, made in Cubist style. You know this one. It represents the three air corridors which kept Berlin alive by providing the necessary nourishment during the blockade. 1948. The Claw of Hunger, it's called. But the war is over now, right? The two cities are one. Schinkel, he opens the back door to a Mercedes that's parked here and motions for you to sit.
I allow Victor to go first.
I enter the car, move along, make space for Taria to enter.
And then I come in.
Kirchner is sitting in the driver's seat. You know how he looks like. He's tall, lanky, with short brown hair and a heavy beard. Ah, our intrepid Interpol detectives. Back home again with us here in lovely Berlin. You're the radio playing a song by Duke Ellington.
Kirchner, you're giving us quite the welcoming committee.
Well, you are badly needed, so yes, and there's other reasons for this. But, hey, you guys like jazz? And he turns the volume up.
I'm not a big fan of jazz, but I don't say anything. I ask, so will we be getting to work immediately tonight?
I love jazz, though. Nothing beats it. Plenty of good jazz clubs here in the city. But hey, here's me trying to do small talk, and you're all business. I should have expected nothing less. Schinkel just grunts at that.
I purse my lips a little. He's right. I have no time for small talk. I don't care what music he plays. I do care about why we're here. So I just silently sort of watch the chief of police from the backseat.
He starts the car and starts driving. I'll get to the point. The French are they're putting significant diplomatic pressure on this case, and they seem adamant to try to resolve it as quickly as possible. There's a lot of fear in France about the reunification. Fear directed at us, that they'll become the little brother in the EEC and no longer hold the sway that they used to have. And they're right, of course, it's only a matter of time. And here is a representative of their high culture they're so immensely proud of, dead under very mysterious circumstances inside of a German museum. Mitterrand is using every opportunity he has to project French strength here, and unfortunately this death, or murder, as I suppose we will have to try and find out, has unfortunately become, yes, a target for them. The French, they really want this resolved quickly, and we've had to politely decline them flying over their own investigators multiple times now. But if we can't clear this up quickly, they will eventually get their way. And I don't think I need to tell you what kind of PR mess this will turn into if we end up having French detectives questioning German citizens and solving cases that we should be solving, right? I'll need to give an update to the French embassy already tomorrow morning on the 18th. And that's why both me and Schinkel are on this case. I mean, why would we be here? We have other things to do, right? But we need to see it with our own eyes so that we can deliver accurate information in a sensitive manner. The Chancellor expects nothing less.
What do you know so far about this explosion that took place?
What we know is that the body was found at 10:50 on the 14th. Ugh, damn rain, I can barely see anything. Yeah, it's begun raining and it's pattering against the car window. Harder and harder. The body was found at 10:50 on the 14th by one of the guards, a Hasper Horta. It was in the basement storage area at the Pergamon. Corridors 2TAUG. It's apparently a bit of a labyrinth down there, but if you know the corridor numbers, you can find your way. It seemed like an explosion had taken place. And the museum was promptly evacuated. Might have been some old bombs or something from the war. These things happen. The basement storage area is a bit of a weird place to find something like that, however, and it's also an area where very few people would have access to, which is what makes this kind of weird. The really weird thing is that according to the autopsy, the body had been mutilated so badly that it looked like it had exploded, but the center of the explosion was within the body, inside of Matelotte. Miller, he was far enough from the center of the explosion that he was unharmed, but whatever it was happened inside Matelotte. And I don't have an explanation for that. Schinkel says, well, the only plausible explanation would involve some harmless substance that can become explosive when mixed with stomach fluids. It's theoretically possible, but there's no such explosive as far as we know.
Did the autopsy show burn marks? Signs of physical explosion?
No.
Any signs of explosive residue or chemicals?
No. That's what makes this even weirder. Whatever it is, it's something new.
A spontaneous explosion from the inside. And I look over to Victor.
Certainly sounds unusual. The only witness, is currently still catatonic.
Yes, he's hospitalized at the Berlin Psychiatric Hospital. He would have seen what happened, but we have been unable to get anything out of him. He just keeps repeating the same words again and again.
Which are?
Ugarit. UG, 2TAUG. UG is for Ugarit. It holds relics from an ancient port city in northern Syria that was discovered in the 20s. It's also known as Ras Shamra. It's not on display currently, the Ugarit artifacts. So most of it is in storage.
Yeah, where the explosion took place?
Yes.
Huh. Ugarit.
All the forensic evidence clears Muller. He just seems to have witnessed the event. There was nothing found on him either. No traces of any kind of explosive or anything. There is also video footage that seems to indicate him just standing there and looking on.
Does the video footage cover Matalot?
It does, but it's not conclusive. It's not the best cameras there. They're from the old days.
Let's see. Well, we will need to have a look at that anyway. Matalot, you said, was there to meet with Mueller about what? Just an artifact transferal to the museum? A deal of some kind?
What we've been told is that it was, professional courtesy. Directors of museums from one to another, and he seemed to have been interested in the Ugarit artifacts. That's all we know right now, but I think we can maybe find out more as we get to the museum. All right, we're starting to get close. Kirchner points out the window, and he points towards a more than 30-floor hotel building. I'll take you there later. That's where you'll be staying. It's the Stadt Berlin Hotel. It's by Alexanderplatz. Just a little bit further here.
I look up at the hotel as we pass by, and I draw a little sigh of relief as I realize that I won't have to go back out into the suburbs to spend time with my husband. It's nice of them to arrange something like this, even though I have a base not too far away.
I mull over what I already know. My gut reaction, of course, is that this isn't as clear as they're making it. Sometimes, when things seem impossible, it's simply that they've been overlooked. For example, the assumption here that the explosion was an explosion, and yet we only have one witness saying it was an explosion, and no evidence of an explosion other than the state of the body, which to me means maybe something else was done to the body, and it simply looks like an explosion.
The car turns left towards the Pergamon Museum. You know that the Pergamon is so named after the altar to Zeus and Athena that's displayed and reconstructed there. This museum also has other very large artifacts. It has the Ishtar Gate of Babylon, for example. It's an amazing museum, really, that has, for the most of your lives, been on the wrong side of the wall. The museum archipelago, where it's located, has the most important cultural centers of the former East Berlin, and is between two sections of the Spree River, only 2 blocks away from the Alexanderplatz. Kirchner parks the car and opens the door into the rain, holds out some umbrellas for you.
I get out quickly and I take the umbrella and start heading up towards the museum.
I take the umbrella in an automatic fashion. The rain doesn't really bother me, although I do feel it's an omen. Lots of times in my life, rain seems to happen at times when things aren't pleasant. I hope that's not a subtle indicator that this case is not going to go well.
It starts to get a little bit darker as well. The sun is setting. The river surface, the Spray River surface, it curls with the rain. And the sobriety of the museum buildings matches this rainy weather. Escorted by Kirchner and Schinkel, you cross the long staircase to the museum entrance. It's slippery and wet due to the rain. Once inside, Kirchner walks up to the receptionist. "Can you let Ruskin know that we've arrived?" "I'm Police Chief Leo Kirchner, thanks." He comes over to you. "I've requested the museum's deputy director to attend us for this visit. The museum's basement isn't the easiest place to, find your way through. It's very, very large. It contains massive amounts of artifacts, and while the organization is not the best."
I appreciate that. We probably will be only needing the security once we've finished the initial assessment. Not the museum deputy director, perhaps. But, yes, let's see what we can get through tonight and mull over for tomorrow.
Eric Ruskin is a short, bald, thick man, about 50 years old. His tone of voice and his pale physical appearance show that he's clearly not having the best day of his life. This way. He motions for you and then begins leading you through the museum halls that are completely devoid of visitors but filled with fascinating objects from antiquity, especially from the civilizations around the Mediterranean and the Middle East. The museum decoration is simple and sober, providing a solemn atmosphere with its bare walls and built-in stylized columns. The scarcity of decoration, far from giving a feeling of emptiness, focuses your attention to the exposed items.
I look at these items with a passive interest, but history doesn't really interest me. The present that needs the focus. I turn to Schinkel and remark, "Are we the first to properly assess the crime scene, or have you already had an initial assessment?"
We've had forensics in already on the 14th. They've looked it over. They've looked for evidence. The thing is, there's nothing. There's blood, there's guts, there's gore, but that's about it. Nothing else, just dust.
I am about to say something, but then I just close my mouth and keep moving on, because I want to see this for myself and start making my own ideas of what has happened here.
Since the initial investigation, you've had the area cornered off, I assume, yes? No one in, no one out?
It's been completely left alone. There's only the security guard to make sure that no one gets in there, and there's properly bulletproof glass doors with key code locks and everything. No one's gotten in there, and we haven't let any visitors in either. So it's left the way that it was left by the investigators.
Is it usual that your curators meet each other in basement places which are hard to see?
It happens. Many of the artifacts are down there. There's nothing strange about it. I just can't believe what happened.
So you believe the two gentlemen were discussing an artifact that would have been in the vicinity, perhaps in a crate or nearby?
That's what I believe, but I have no idea what it could have been. I mean, for all these items, they're so old. There's nothing that can make anyone explode from 1,000 years before Christ. I mean, nothing.
What do you know of the artifacts that they were examining or discussing?
We looked at the boxes closest to the body. One contains an amphora, and the other one didn't contain anything. There was no record. 54G. There was nothing in 54G.
An empty box.
Yes. Well, I think showing you the location will help.
I assume you have a registry of whatever items they were.
We do. It's very thorough. And yes, he leads you towards a glass door that at the end of this hall gives you access to the office areas and stairs down towards the basement. The building here, especially the basement part, is old, and the smell of mold gets to your noses as you descend the staircase. There are a few security cameras strategically placed in the staircase corners, in strong contrast to the building decrepitude. But even these cameras, they look, well, it's Soviet tech. The flaked paint hasn't been redone for years, and, well, this is the East after all. The dark gets darker, and down at the bottom of the staircase can be heard crackling and humming sound of light bulbs that illuminate the door to the basement storage section. As the door is opened by Ruskin, the stench of mold increases and becomes unpleasant. On the other side, a small, polished, and well-illuminated room with TV monitors that are showing images from the security cameras. There's a security officer here. Tall man, emaciated with hollow eyes. The name tag says Becker. He immediately moves to give you some visitor badges. Kirchner and Schinkel go to pick theirs up.
I note the name, and I take my badge and put it on, and place the umbrella against the wall. And are they leading us into the room where this will happen, or?
They are signing in to the registry here. You are waiting for that to finish, and on the desk of the security guard you see the Berliner Zeitung and a steaming cup of coffee. Headlines in the newspapers are all about Matalot. And yes, there's other murders happening as well. Prostitute found murdered can be seen in a small article on the side. Lots of death.
I will wait a bit and say, "Sir, do you have the security footage to view here?"
He moves to the screen and starts it up. And it's a coarse grain, low frame rate tape in white and black with no sound. It shows a corridor of the Pergamon Museum, 2TA UG. There is Gregor Matalot, and there is Dr. Miller. Matalot moves to look in a box. The dim light darkens, and then it brightens. In the place Matalot was before, everything is colored in darker tones of grey, where the gore and blood from Matalot's body has reached. Mueller falls down to his knees.
So it would appear the time of death was the second the box was opened. A box, you say, is empty and was always empty? Was it expected to be empty? What do you have on your registry that should have been in that box?
Well, there's nothing there. It's empty. The registry for that, it's just gone. There's no document showing that there was supposed to be anything in there.
I rewind the tape and I watch it again. The lights go down and then come back up.
Yes. You think you see Matalot looking in the box and then looking up. And then that's when the light dims. Everything it's such a low quality tape, it's coarse, it's grainy, low frame rate. You don't get enough detail really, but you think you can see that much at least. It seems as if he looks in the box and then looks up, and then it goes dark and then bright again.
The timestamp is accurate, yes? This is all seconds. There's no slight delay or anything like that.
No, this seems to have happened at 10:45. 10:50 the body is found, and you can see footage of Hasper Horta, the guard, arriving there shocked, trying to get Dr. Mueller to get to his feet, failing at that, running off, and then after that you have more people coming and the whole thing turns into a bit of a circus.
I rewind a little. Back to past the explosion, past to opening the box. When do they enter? When do they start speaking near this box, these cameras?
It is perhaps 30 seconds before. It seems as if Matalot is moving towards this box, very determined. As if he knows exactly what he's looking for.
Does it strike anyone as unusual that the empty box that you say has nothing in it, your records say nothing in it, was extremely interesting to the deceased moments before his death?
It is very interesting, but there's nothing in it.
Do you have any previous exchange between these two persons? Letters? Anything?
Ruskin answers. We just knew that they were friends, that they were very famous and they were big in their fields. They were the most respected experts. They networked and they met with each other. They had things to talk about.
Is it common practice to have boxes with nothing in it, as it would just be taking up storage space in such a crowded place as this?
It's a massive warehouse. Sometimes things are taken out, displayed on in an exhibition. It is not uncommon necessarily, but well, it seems as if there was something that he was looking for there. I don't know why he would have that idea though. And I found something else a bit weird that I can show you as well. He goes through the records of tapes that have different dates on them, and he picks up a tape that says February 9th, and he puts that into the video player. And instead of what you expect to see, which is security footage from the museum, you see images from a movie you have both seen in the cinema. Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange. Alex and his band are committing ultraviolence and enjoying themselves in the scenes that are popping up here. Becker speaks to you. All this, someone seems to have switched the tapes.
That's very interesting. What should be on this tape? Would be more security footage.
Yeah, exactly. Security footage from February the 9th.
Is there any chance we could see footage from the day before and the day after to compare if something has changed?
Certainly. Let me bring that up. Shrinkle speaks up. It's very interesting. We should have a look at that. But I want to see the scene. I want to see what happened. I want to see, and I want to feel the place. Don't you? I mean, you're forensic investigators as well, and there must be something that they've missed.
So, Becker, you would get this ready for us, and then we'll come back to have a look.
I will. He says, and he sips on his coffee.
Alright then, let's make our way down below.
Ruskin, he buzzes a second door in here. And the door is open and stairs lead you further down into the basement. It is immediately colder here, and the air is moist. It smells of soil, of earth, of a distant past. What Kirchner mentioned to you about the narrow corridors was true. It's a labyrinthine warehouse, crossed by corridors made of big boxes and containers in different sizes. Each corridor has a identifier, and each box has a code which identifies its origin, like 345 G Cairo. Despite the warehouse being almost 4 meters high, the boxes are stacked to the ceiling in many places. And there are several small movable ladders to reach the higher containers and boxes. Ruskin leads you on in a determined fashion through this labyrinth. And as you pass through it, the corridors are sometimes so long into the distance that it seems as if the piles of boxes on both sides touch each other. After 4 or 5 corridors that you pass through, you're really starting to feel like you're lost. Like you're lost in a labyrinth, and the only one who's leading you anywhere is Ruskin. he seems to know the way, but you don't. How does that make you feel?
Sort of the feeling a bit like the walls are closing in a bit. It's so far down, so the air feels compressed and heavy, with the smell of mold and knowing all these very old things around me. It feels like a tomb, almost. I don't find it particularly pleasant. I'll probably be able to find my way out, probably. But why people would want to work like this, I could not know. I looked down on the floor and there's no markings of pointing towards exits or anything.
No.
I try and keep an eye on where we're going, trying to memorize the routes. I find analyzing the place makes it easier to comprehend, and therefore I'm not too concerned about getting lost. I do feel the place could be better organized, but then, as they said, these sort of places, they don't go for organization. I suppose it's because at the end of the day, no one cares about most of the stuff down here. Oh sure, maybe there's one or two useful things, but most of the time, artifacts in storage are the ones no one wants to see or care about anymore. At least in my experience.
You can see both Kirchner and Schinkel. They have somewhat concerned looks on their faces as they are looking around in the labyrinth. Ruskin suddenly stops, close to a sign that says 2TA-UG. This is the place. I don't want to see it again. He's actually trembling physically. Last time I came in here, I had to throw up. It's terrible. Is it? I will wait here. All right?
Very good, I say, and unless the other gentlemen have already started taking the lead, I will start moving ahead.
They seem a little bit taken aback, probably, by what Ruskin just said, and then this feeling of being lost you gather. So yes, you end up taking the lead, and you come around the corner to see police tape having been put up around the site. And it is gruesome, but it is what you expected. The corridor is about 1 meter wide here. Very tight, narrow. There's still blood everywhere. It stinks of death, and it is truly as if the man had exploded in this confined space. The remains are spread out over at least 4 meters of the corridor.
I begin looking around. I look to Tarja and say, "Don't suppose you brought a spare pair of gloves?"
Yes, of course. And I put down a small briefcase and open it. I feel a little shaken by this. Maybe it's because of the feeling of being lost down here. Because I usually have a strong sense of space and where I'm going and where I am. Or maybe I'm just tired after a long day and a bit of travel. From the briefcase, I take out an extra set of gloves and I put on a pair of my own, and I take care and try to avoid the worst bits of blood, but it's not really possible as I go forward and I look at whatever remains are left. Is it random? Is it still sort of body parts? And
no, it is blood basically, and it's mostly dried. The body parts would have been taken away with the rest of the body for the autopsy. So yes, it is mostly blood that is splattered everywhere in truly horrific fashion. And the center of the explosion, as you can see, it seems to be close to these 2 boxes. It's 45-W, you got it, and 56-3, UR.
It's been about 3 days since the explosion was reported. The sort of normal composition of blood, dryness, everything.
It checks out.
And I move up to the boxes Are they standing there open? Or?
They are the ones who are closest to the epicenter of this explosion. And they seem to have been pushed back in. At least, yes, from what you can see, they are back in their original positions. Matalot would have opened 45W, you think, now. You compare it with what you saw in the footage. That was probably the one who was looking into.
Have you had any sort of bomb team or similar down here to look for any hazardous materials?
Kirchner speaks. Yeah, we had the bomb squad here. We had our best forensic people that we have here in Berlin looking at it as well, but couldn't find anything, only these old artifacts. And he pulls out 56-3. This one contains an amphora. And then he pulls out 45W. This one's empty. These other ones, they contain various artifacts of different kinds from the Ugarit excavation.
I step around Tarja's work. I am aware that she's the expert in this particular area, and I don't wish to disturb what she's doing. But I will go to the box in question. The one that was opened and led to the death. It's currently closed, yes?
Yes, he has pulled it out, Kirchner has. And it is, when you pull it out, you can see what's inside of it. So there's no lid on it. And it's completely empty.
I begin with gloves, just doing an inspection of the box itself, looking at every corner, every angle, briefly asking Kirchner to help me lift it, to look at the bottom. Of course, while Tarja was working, I was myself just taking in the scene. I'm not an expert when it comes to true forensics. My skill lies more in the big picture, analysing every detail, every element, and trying to paint a picture of possibilities.
Indeed. So then roll for a crime scene investigator.
11. I can ask one question. As I'm looking over the scene, thinking of the other's reaction so far, so quick to assume the complete impossible, I agree it's extremely unusual. But I have seen a lot of murders. I've been serving almost 25 years. Some of them have been extremely creative. Does this crime remind me of something I'm familiar with already? And if so, what?
The thing about this crime is that it is unlike anything that you have ever seen before. What killed this man seems to be something completely unnatural and impossible. And there seems to be nothing directly that could explain what has happened here. The only possibility is somehow this man, Matalot, ingested or got in contact with something that made him explode. But physically and physiologically, you are not aware of anything that could do that. But that's the only thing that could have happened here. What else could he have done? Swallowed a hand grenade? I mean, it doesn't make sense. And none of the evidence seems to support it. That you look around and you see that, yes, there's no scorching of any kind, no explosive residues, nothing. This man exploded from the inside. Everything here that you see supports that conclusion, which is completely ridiculous. But it is what has happened. You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we played the adventure Clavis Inferna, Primera Semana, for KULT. Clavis Inferna was written by David Mendes Garcia and Alvaro Moreno Marquina, and was published by M+D in 1996, however, only in Spanish. The translation that has made it possible for us to play this adventure was done by none other than our dear friend and supporter, Anton Gonzalez. Thank you so much. The music was made by Atrium Carceri and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody, dark ambient. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, and Julia for their generous support. And we would of course like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. Thank you again for listening, and remember, death is only the beginning.